a legislator cannot make an informed decision. Can't do it. Now, do I trust my leaders to share the love with me? I prefer to make my own decisions based on my thought process and my understanding of a bill. And I'll just tell you, there is not a brilliant enough legislator. There's 149 of us, 148 of us. There's not a one of us up there that can understand those bills when they're laid on our desk, and we're asked to vote on it 50 minutes later. So, yeah, we could change that. I fully anticipate the Senate is going to go Republican for the first time since statehood this year, hopefully by 2 seats. And with a Republican House and a Republican Senate, we can make those changes, and the best way to make them is to have transparency in government. Open it up and give us an opportunity to understand those bills.
You know, this is one of my favorite questions. So I don't know if I should ask for a minute or two indulgence. You know, first off, I believe that the bill means what it says. Words mean things. I read them, and I just believe it means what it says until it's proven otherwise. I commend one of my constituents, Ken Sellers. He had a grave concern in a particular area, and he sat down with me over coffee at Panera, and he shared that concern in a polite, professional way. And when I saw a similar thing coming across the desk, we were able to get it held long enough to assure that was what it was. And it was what it was, and we were able to get it stopped. You know, when you go into the Capitol, you have to put your purse, your bags, your briefcase through this magnometer or whatever it is that examines the contents. Well, I believe that's my first responsibility at the Capitol, is to be a legislative magnometer, if you will, and examine the contents of those bills that are trying to be slid out the back door of the Capitol. I perceive that to be my first responsibility. I try to put in whatever human effort is possible to analyze the bills, and sometimes it's the equivalent of reading a dry novel each night. It is a tremendous amount of reading, but you know, I signed up, desire the job, because I believe it's really important to preserve the type of governance that I have received. There's two main things that have been a real abuse in this process. One has been the motion to strike the title or the enacting clause. And you should have seen it a couple of years ago when I was reading the legislative manual, and I ran across the paragraph that said, a motion to strike the title or the enacting clause is out of order because it renders the bill as being unable to be enacted in its amended form. And I couldn't wait till the next time that motion was made, and I held up the process for a half an hour until I figured out how to wire around my objection. And the reason why that's a problem is you cannot pass a bill and send it to the governor unless it passes in the exact same form in the House and in the Senate. Exactly the same form. Not one word different. The House and the Senate have to concur with the Senate to the governor. Well, the legislative sleight of hand that's been used to enact someone's pet legislation is you get the bill before one of the bodies and a motion is made to strike the title with the enacting clause. And you just simply need a simple majority for a motion to pass. Well, that measure then is amended in such a way it can't pass the Senate if I serve in the House. And so that measure, if that vote is passed, is destined to a conference committee. And on a conference committee is a handful of people appointed by the Speaker, a handful of people appointed by the President Pro Tem. They work out the final version of the bill, and it's no longer amendable. You cannot change it. It's either a yes or a no vote, and that is it. And so you know about the principle of log rolling. That's putting 8 or 9 things in there that an elected official cannot oppose with 2 that they cannot stand. Okay? And that's the legislative sleight of hand that's been going on. That's how these economic development proposals and the transferable tax credits and all this other garbage gets past the electorate. It starts with the motion to strike the title or the enactment clause, and that's why I've been fighting it back at that level. I fought it vigorously when the Democrats had the majority. And unfortunately, I've had to fight it vigorously when the Republicans have had the chair. Okay? Secondly, you know, when I arrived at the Capitol, Representative Odelia Dank was on a tear about the 24-hour notice requiring at least 24 hours before we vote on issues. The Constitution says no measure shall be passed into law unless being read on 3 successive days. What's that all about? It's about disclosure. The principle is about disclosure. The elected officials should have the reasonable opportunity to analyze the proposal and sign off on it. Informed consent. Not voting in the dark, not trust me. Hey, or Ronald Reagan hit it right, trust, but verified. I'm still going to read the bill. Okay? And then the representative has got to have the guts to get up and challenge the author, even if it's of his own party, and ask the questions and prove all things, and then hold fast to that which is good. Finally, I want to commend Democrat Speaker Larry Adair, because as I've made this contention nearly the whole time I've been at the Capitol, he did put in place 48 hours, at least 48, at least 24, at the end of session that we weren't just going to run the legislation unless the members had the opportunity to read it. Didn't mean they took the opportunity, but they had the opportunity to read it. And I commend the Democrat Speaker for doing that. And I wish that my Republican brethren would understand the same high principle, that we should abstain from even the appearance of improperly removing the elected officials' right to analyze that legislation. Forgive me for getting worked up, but this is my favorite topic.
We've got about 20 minutes until the library is going to run us out, so I'm going to close it right now. If you have extra questions, the panelists will be here following this, and feel free to come up and visit with them after we close. And before I close, I just have one last person I'd like to introduce, and that's my wife, Maria. She puts up with me going to these OK Safe things, and I'm going to another political meeting tonight or something like that. I really appreciate that. She's been here this evening. I want to brag on her a little bit. She's the Eastern District Supervisor for the State Health Department for the Emergency Response Section. And over the last week, she's been putting in quite a few hours between E. coli and a little hurricane that made its way up through here. And she came out this evening and drove down here to spend a little. Sometimes this is our time together. You're part of the big family of love here with us. So anyway, I appreciate her being here.
Just make an announcement. Everyone in this room be aware of what's going on in the Broken Arrow School Board. Maybe you all have seen a little bit in the paper. There'll be a lot more that's going on. A very righteous school board superintendent, Dr. Cisney, discovered his staff actually brought it to him some improprieties, and there's some things that's going to come out, but I've viewed all the documents, and this man is an anomaly. He's a conservative Republican, and he's being attacked by 3 school board members. Not only does he need our prayers that the truth will come out, which I believe it will be. There's a document filed in the court Friday that is going to go to the district attorney. And if you want more information about it, you're welcome to call me. But we have a really big problem, Broken Arrow, to shut down the school system right now because of 3 rogue school board members that have an agenda. They're trying to fire Dr. Cisney because he's exposed some vendor fraud, or his staff, some vendor fraud that's been getting kickbacks for a long time. It's just been brought out to school board members, to other people that even go up to the city, and even some federal level things. So wanted this group to be aware. I have looked at the documents. He's right on. He's being totally muzzled. They made a special meeting last week that he can't even release anything to his school boards or his teachers to tell them what's going on. When you talk about the teachers union controlling the situation, they are trying to muffle it, and it's a witch hunt.
All right. I'd like to close at this time. If you would, please, let's give one more round of applause to our panelists for taking